all profit is value extraction. And that means that all profit is theft from you.
Corporate America is on welfare, and we got to get them off welfare.
Nothing's more important than stopping fascism, because fascism will stop us all.
All right, welcome to Cars and Comrades, your socialist car podcast, or I guess it's majority anarchist now, since Brandon isn't here this week. But got me, Bryant, Zach, and Connor here. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, not too bad.
So this week we're going to talk a little bit about Bill Lear. He was an interesting guy. You might know him for the Learjet, but he was involved in a lot of automotive stuff as well. So we'll go into that. And it's not going to be the most politics-heavy podcast, although it will touch on the communist revolution in Romania. And
wow, hold
little...
on. Wow.
just
highly specific.
Yeah, was not expecting that.
I mean, just a tangent in there, but
also,
and then also
I didn't know there was communists in Romania. So goes to show what I know.
I mean, there were they weren't the greatest communists, but you know, they did some.
Yeah,
things.
nowhere was, unfortunately, it seems. But all things are politics. So
yes, exactly.
Good enough.
So I guess before that, we'll do a little Project Car update. Although I think it's not been such a long time since we did that. I don't. Was it a week or 2 weeks ago that we talked last? I can't even remember.
I mean,
technically, it was like 15 minutes, but
yeah,
we'll not talk about
that. I mean, as far as doing a Project Car update, that was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but that's usually how long it is, and we still have long lists of shit. It's mostly just shit getting worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I haven't done a whole lot I haven't done anything on my car, but I did fuck around with my bicycle this week, and I managed to change a flat tire, put in a new tube.
Nice.
And, cleaned and re-greased the chain. And then I changed out the shifter cables because they were binding up on me and they were kind of just old and janky in general. But I have had a real hard time getting the derailleur adjusted, especially on the front one. So I kind of just quit on that on Monday, and then my back has been hurting and I haven't done anything else. So that's where I'm at.
Ooh, what kind of bike is it? I'm just curious.
It's a Specialized mountain bike, pretty ordinary hardtail with a hydraulic front fork. And I'm thinking about
a Specialized ordinary mountain bike.
Specialized is the brand name.
Oh,
I was so confused.
Yeah,
is it special or is it regular? I'm lost right now.
Boy, that goes to the whole advertising thing we were talking about in the
right?
last episode. We're the Specialized generic bike company.
Yeah, it's a unique ordinary bike.
Very cool though.
Yeah,
highly custom, off the shelf.
I am thinking about putting an electric motor on it. So we'll see if I do that. It'd be like around $700, $800 for.
Oof. That's wow. Why that is a lot more than I was expecting. Yikes.
Well, they're kind of in demand right now. If I wanted to go the other route, I could get one of those Chinese 2-stroke motors that I was talking about.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I've learned too much about how bad those are for the environment. They're so bad.
Yeah.
But that's all I got. I guess Connor, it's your turn. Since Brandon's not here.
Okay. Well, I wish I could say I haven't done much, but I have. Well, I haven't. The car's had to go to the shop for multiple issues, which mostly just to get some odds and ends fixed up. Because, I brought it in and I was like, all right, I need some shit to work. I had some wheel studs that I needed replaced, which I could do, but my neighbors would not appreciate me doing that job. So if you don't know, you have to hammer those the fuck out. And if that seems really hard to do, it's because it is. So I also don't have an impact that is like strong enough to like get new. This was just a job that I was like, yeah, I'm not interested in doing this.
Yeah, I've done it with a breaker bar, like cheater bar or whatever. But
Jesus, how long did that take you?
uh, a good portion of an hour. I want to say.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
expecting
anyway.
hours.
I didn't want to do it. Plus, I just had shit stacking up. The AC wasn't working. So I was like, hey, if you could take a look at that. AC's not working. Need some wheel studs done. Because at the drift event, I knew, like, I took them wheels off to adjust the drum brakes before the drift event, like a week or two before that. And some of those lugs came off real hot.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, something ain't right. And then at the drift event, they were working. It was fine, but like I'm taking them off and putting them on. I'm like, there's a lot of tension on these lugs, and there's nothing. They got to get changed. So they were.
I think, do those have the 125 thread pitch like
Yes.
like on Subarus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
all the problems that I was talking about last time.
Well, and like it's exacerbated by the fact that like in a drift car, like those wheel studs see a lot of action.
Yeah.
So, years of taking wheels on and off constantly. Yeah, I'm surprised they lasted as long as they did. So I had a few of those replaced, and then I also had them just replace the door lock actuator because on the driver's side that was getting stuck, and that was very, very unpleasant, especially when I'm like in the field working and like the driver's door won't open and I have to crawl into the car on the passenger side. Just not pleasant. But I'm sure a lot of our listeners know what it's like to crawl into the driver's seat from another door. We've all been there. So I did not like doing that, and so I had him change that while I was at it. So had a bunch of things fixed. The AC, which has not worked in my car, even after I used one of those AC recharge things, my guy at the shop actually used another one, and that worked. Which it says in the instructions, like, okay, once you're in the green, like, don't use any more, you might overfill it. So, but he tried it and it worked fine-ish, although it seems like something is leaking or there's something else wrong with it, because after a couple days, it did start making a noise. So after, like, when I rev up, it just sounds like, ooh, and I was like, oh, that's only when the AC is on. So it doesn't sound great. Also,
it might have like some air or water in the
probably
system or something.
Almost certainly, he said, I did see some bubbles in like the little valve, and I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to hope that it works out fine, but it didn't. So there is theoretically a leak or some air in the system or something. It makes an annoying noise. And if I idle for more than like 10 minutes with the AC on, such as to like eat my lunch on a 100-degree day, it will stop being cold. And then also, after I did that, my clutch pedal didn't return while I was at work. So like, yeah, I went to the floor and then I had like an inch of engagement. So like, I was like, I have no idea if those are related, by the way. Not a clue. It only happened once, and I drove for like a couple miles like that. Cause like I had like an inch worth of like pedal use. And then I was also trying to like shift without using the clutch as much as I could. So I
that's
did that.
always fun.
It's like,
I've been there.
Yeah, and
Like,
I'm driving.
How good am I at rev matching? Let's find out.
Yeah, and I'm driving, by the way, in the city of Chicago when I'm like in the field. Like everything I do is in the city of Chicago. So like I have to go over speed humps and shit. Like this was unpleasant. And at first I thought it was like, maybe it's just in my head. At first I was like, boy, it seems like the clutch isn't returning, but maybe it's just in my head because it's like there. But like it felt wrong. And then I started the car. I was like, I don't know. It seems like maybe it's fine. And then I stalled it immediately. So I was like, yeah, something's wrong. But I drove it for a couple miles, and then in traffic, it just came back. I mean, it came back like weirdly. It was like, okay, now it'll come all the way up, but then the first like 90% of the pedal is just like air. Like it's just not even there. And then it finally got some tension back, and it hasn't happened since. So
yeah, sounds like
weird.
need to bleed the clutch.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. If it's bleed the clutch, I didn't look it up yet, the symptoms, but like I don't know if y'all have experienced that. It just seemed weird that it went back to normal.
I've had almost the exact same thing happen on my Subaru, and I gotta be honest, I'm not exactly sure what the issue is because mine will just randomly go out like that. Like you said,
Yeah.
like the top 90% is just gone, and then
Yeah.
everything happens in that last little bit
Yeah.
of pedal motion, but it'll just come back and be fine for months at a time. Like, I think the last time it happened has been over a year. And I don't
Yeah.
do anything. Like, I've not done a goddamn thing. Like,
Yeah.
I've not
So like
even tried to fix it.
this
So I don't
happened
know.
like several days ago. I'm like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's currently not broke.
Was it
Um,
was it on a day that it was pretty hot out?
it was
Okay, because you might
Oh,
have
like
water
really hot.
and you might have water in the fluid because I think most
Hmm.
cars use brake fluid as clutch fluid,
That they
yeah.
do. Yep. Mine
and
does.
that's like what Brandon was talking about. It'll attract water, it'll absorb water from the air.
That's
So
true.
if you have like a little bit of a leak and some air or gets in there, it can get some water, and then when it boils or whatever, it'll expand.
I'm pretty sure I've bled it last with dot 4, and I think dot 4
Mm,
prevents that.
yeah,
I thought, but
it should.
then again, I don't fucking know that for sure. So maybe I should just bleed it because like I had to replace the slave when we did the clutch a couple years ago. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll just bleed it out. Couldn't hurt.
yeah. If it's something that you can get to easily, I mean, you
Yeah,
don't have to.
it's pretty easy if I remember
Okay.
correctly. So yeah, I might just try and bleed it then.
Yeah.
Probably not a bad idea.
So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at. I had a bunch of things fixed, which was really cool. The other thing that I had fixed at the shop, I didn't mention just yet because I have a very special edition of Project Car Updates this week.
Okay.
So I got one of those classic letters from an angry neighbor about my car,
Oh boy.
About which car?
the Z.
Okay.
So I recently moved in. We changed where we live. We moved into a townhouse that we're renting right now because we needed space for the dog and everything. So then in our mailbox we got an anonymous letter from a neighbor,
Oh,
which I'm going
I'm
to
sure
read
this is a
right.
good one.
Oh yeah, this is great. It's wonderful. Hello, sir. I'm going to ask you in the nicest way possible. By the way, not the nicest way possible. Can you please do something about your loud car! Exclamation point. You disrupt the entire neighborhood and wake up my children. Please do something about the loud pipes or your muffler. Our neighborhood was quiet before you unfortunately moved in.
Oh.
Thank you. Yeah. So, gonna be honest, they did not try and be nice. And a part of me is just kind of like, yes, it is unfortunate that I moved in here. Have a nice day. It's unfortunate. That sucks. So I do not want to accommodate this person any more than I need to because fuck this person. But I also don't want to be disruptive. I genuinely do not try to be an asshole. Like, I try not to rev the car in the neighborhood. Like, I come in off the street. Like, I turn in really fast and I keep it in second gear and just like, I'll blip it to get up the hill a little bit. So I'll get up to like 2,000 RPM and then I'll just ramming speed up into my driveway, like as fast as I can, as quietly as possible. So I've already been doing that. I did have to move the cars a couple times, like at night. So like, it's 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night, and it's like, oh, I have to switch like mine and my partner's cars because she's going somewhere early or whatever the case may be. So I have done that, and I'm like, okay, one, it's good to know if this is something that you can hear. I don't want to be disturbing you, so like I can try and not move the cars after a certain point, shit like that. But this letter pissed me off. I was like, fuck you a little bit. So I did unfortunately have to spend a good hour or two reading all of the rules and regulations of the HOA and looking up local ordinances. and state laws to make sure I was covering my bases. Because the way this letter is written is not giving, they don't give me a time range of like, hey, can you not run the car after whatever time? Shit like that. It's just, can you do something about the loud car? And so it's like, oh, I have a feeling this is going to be an issue no matter what time I do it.
It's kind of like saying, can you fuck off, please?
Yes, exactly. Can
That's
you just
exactly what they're saying.
Could you just not have that car? And it's like, look, I have spent more money on this car than your car is worth. I guarantee it. Like,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on this shit. It's going to be what it is. Now, at the same time, I've decided, okay, there's a place out just outside the neighborhood on like a main road where I can park it if I come in late or I have to leave early or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and I can make an effort to like, okay, maybe I shouldn't, be running the car at, whatever at 9 p.m. Like, I can try and appease this person as much as possible. I just don't know how good that's going to do. And unfortunately, I discovered in my research that Illinois has a state law that is not really enforced, but does exist, that you cannot have any exhaust system that amplifies the sound over what the OEM exhaust sounds like.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you would. Now, trust me, you wouldn't fucking know it living here. And the last place I lived, we lived on like the 9th floor, right next to a very busy street where all the fucking every cruise night that happened in Chicago, I'm telling you, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, we heard cars ripping down our street constantly. Like every light, there was just 100 cars going by, like all Challengers, Chargers, Mustangs, and those Mustangs are fucking crazy loud. Just the new 5.0s, holy Christ!
Yeah,
I actually do think they're a little too loud. I think I'm like, that's excessive. But so I looked up the laws and everything, and I was just like, man, again, I don't want my car to be, I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want my car to be disruptive. I genuinely do not. So like, I'm willing to like, okay, do what I got to do to keep this person off my back. And I did have a little bit of an exhaust leak from where the test pipes were. And I have waited 7 months to get new catalytic converters. 7 fucking months. And they finally came in literally the week that I got this letter. So I had my my guy at the shop put those on as well. Which they sound awesome. Like, it's great. The car, I think, me personally, I think the car is a lot quieter now. There's no leak. Or there is, again, because I've driven it a week with brand new exhaust components, so I have to like crawl under there and retighten it because it kind of just loosens up in that first week or two. So I do want to just tighten it up real quick. But it doesn't have a bad leak at all. Like, it's just barely there. So generally, it doesn't really have a leak anymore, and I think the cats quiet it up quite a bit and give it a nice kind of sound quality to it.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. I think that will hopefully help. At the same time, I have read a little bit more about, which I can't get good information on, but catalytic converters in like big obnoxious flame tunes like the one I have, probably not good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to not run my flame tune for a while. As much as I want catalytic converters on my car all the time, I do think I'm going to get an extra set of test pipes to put on like next summer. So like just for like drift events and stuff, I can run the flame map and shit and like be a obnoxious ass wipe for like 6 months out of the year. And then I'd like to have a nice winter setup that is like polluting less and stuff. But we'll see. Maybe I won't. I've gone this long without a obnoxious flame map, and maybe I can just go without it longer. I'm just mad because like I feel like the car wasn't tuned right, and I never got a chance to really enjoy the flames, and no one has filmed me do it. So that's really what it comes down to, is I don't have any evidence that I ever had really cool flames coming out of my tailpipe, and it does annoy me a little bit.
They'll just
and you gotta
squirt a little lighter fluid in the muffler and film.
Yeah,
that
that's a great way to burn a muffler or burn a bumper.
Yeah.
But yeah, so got this letter, and literally like the day I opened the letter was the day I was driving the car to the shop. Like literally right after I got the letter, I drove to the shop because it was Friday. It was like, okay, this is the day we decided to bring the car by. So it does sound really cool with cats on. I think it doesn't sound as raspy and shit, and it does sound quieter to me. So I have done everything I reasonably can to appease this person, and I really hope to God it's enough. But I kind of suspect that it won't be, because the way this is written is just like, can you just not have that car anymore?
Yeah.
Instead of, here's the time that I want you to not run it or whatever. I'm like, I have fixed it, and I'm also not trying not to run it after 8 p.m. Hopefully that's enough. But yeah, who knows? I may have cops coming to my door soon.
I really have a feeling that this person, like you said, because they didn't give any like specific requests, like, hey, this is like, the time that I'd like to not hear it from this time to this time, this or that. They just want to complain, and they just want you to not have the car, like you said. So I think that there's really not going to be any appeasing them.
No, I don't think so either. I'm covering my ass here. And here's the other thing, by the way. I don't want anyone to think like, oh, Connor's an asshole. Like, I would be more than happy to work with this person if they actually sent a letter like, hey, you know what? The car is a little disruptive and it's a problem late at night. If you could work with us to like not, hey, I'm happy. Like, oh, I didn't know you could hear this from inside your house. If you can't, I really don't want to be an asshole. I try already. I thought I was trying enough to be quiet, but I can try more. Like, I don't want to be an asshole. I'm not like here like, fuck you, my car's loud, too bad. I'm like, no, I get it. It's loud. I don't want to disturb anybody. So like, this letter could have been written in a way that I'd be more than happy to help. But like, when you're just like, oh, our neighborhood was quiet before you unfortunately moved in, I'm kind of like, okay, you don't have a quiet neighborhood anymore. What's it to me, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Your kids aren't complaining to me. They're complaining to you. I don't give a shit. But again, I don't want to be an asshole, and I really do not want police coming to my door, because that's going to piss me off. And so, yeah, and I don't want any HOA trying to evict us. Like, I just don't want to go. I don't want this to escalate, but I kind of have a feeling that this may not be avoidable. So,
I mean, maybe this person just has like good tastes and hates the sound of a VQ. That's the issue.
So yeah. Anyway, I feel like that's kind of a long update, but yeah, I got the classic angry neighbor letter. So
yeah, you know what I think you should do is put the quietest exhaust you can on your 350Z, and then buy a 2-stroke scooter and put a giant expansion pipe on it.
And idle it right outside. Yeah, idle it right outside their window. Yeah. I think I know which neighbor it is too. I think, but I don't know. But I think I know.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I'm like, I think I know who it is, but
it's almost always the one you think it is.
Yeah. No, like I am about 30 years old. I'm over the like. I am still a punk kid at heart, but like, I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to be a fucking jerk. Like, I'm really not. I get that it's loud. I really don't want to disturb anybody. That is not my intention. I daily drive a race car. I get it, but like a slow race car. But it's like, but hey, I'm willing to work with these people. I just wish like they could have written this letter in a way that wasn't being a piece of shit about it. And I'm just like, I'm not super into helping you right now. I would be happy to help you if you had written this nicely, but now I'm just doing it to cover my ass. So like, yeah. So if you ever have to write a letter to a neighbor, just like kindly inform them that there's an issue is a lot better than like, fuck you, our neighborhood was great before you came. That doesn't help. So, anyway, yep, that's me.
All right, I guess that's my turn. I haven't gotten any complaints from the neighbors recently that I know of, anyway.
Yeah, this is my first one.
Yeah. Luckily, I think several of my neighbors have modified cars. So, like,
Nice.
I don't think I would be the first target. Luckily,
That's a good situation.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, where I live, there was until recently someone living in a Chevy Trailblazer in the guest parking lot. So
nice.
I have the least worst car around here.
Yeah, one of my neighbors has one of those Pontiac Skies or Pontiac
those are cool as
Solstice
fuck.
Saturn
Yeah, those
Sky.
are cool as fuck.
It's got an LSX in it.
Ooh.
What? Oh
Yeah.
my god, what?
Yeah, it's a monster. The thing's insane. He's
I
got two
bet.
of them. He's got two
Oh
of them,
my
actually.
God.
I don't know if they both have LSs in them, but yeah, the one that I've seen definitely has a big old LSX in it. Like, that's fucking
Jesus.
crazy, man.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first target. You're safe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're
If they're
safe.
coming for anyone, they're coming for that guy. So I'm good. I do work on my truck in the street a lot, which I think people aren't super happy about, but like, what are you going to do? You know, they haven't written me letters about it. But I haven't really been doing a whole lot of work on any of my cars recently. I had a clunky sound coming from my pickup. My Ranger was making a weird little thump noise that I thought might be a wheel bearing, which I was going to be really upset about because that would have been a lot of work. But I just took the wheel off and like looked around in there to see if something got stuck in there or if I could just see what was going on. And I put the wheel back on and it stopped making the noise. So I'm calling that
All
fixed.
Nice.
Yeah, and then my AC went out. But I know why that went out. I have a brass fitting soldered into a piece of the AC line that doesn't have the stock cap
Yeah.
anymore. So I just I know that's leaking, which has sucked because it's been like 90 degrees every day here.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. And my window motor's going out. So yeah, I just have problems and no solutions. I'm not working on shit. I'm just finding more.
You're
issues.
in the problem collection stage. You're just
Exactly.
taking notes.
Yep. Writing them all down. I'm like, well, when these become an actual issue, because if I can't roll my window down anymore because the window motor went out and I don't have AC, then I have to do something. I can't just sit around.
Because then you
and be
can't
like,
park it outside.
Yeah, that'll be a big issue. But until then, it's running, it's driving. I
kept
that.
my passenger window shut for like 8 years.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do until that one person comes into the car and like sits down and immediately hits the button, and you're like, God damn it!
I had a window lock button.
Oh,
yep.
That's
so I was able
nice.
to just like, oh yeah, that window doesn't work. For like 8 years, it has been this way since pretty much I've owned the car. It's just like, oh, that window doesn't work. It kind of works now, so I can lower it, but it doesn't work right.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta replace the door eventually. Like, it's the driver's side window, and the driver's side door is all smashed in. So I'll have to get in there and replace that eventually, anyway.
Oh yeah, just wait for that then.
Yeah, I'm just gonna deal with it then. But no, I installed a transmission oil temp gauge on my truck because that last hullabaloo with the transmission, it overheated, and it's been staying relatively cool. I mean, from what I've read, it should be between like 180 and 225, and I haven't seen it go above 215. So I'm cool with that.
Good.
Yeah, like, that's acceptable. So yeah, it's actually running and driving fairly well, save for a few small issues. But
nice.
Yeah, for the time being, I'm just gonna keep driving it and just cross my fingers that nothing else happens.
Good.
So yeah, quick one for me this week.
Well, since you had a quick one, something you said did remind me of another thing I found.
Oh yeah, there's always another thing.
You mentioned the clunking, and I was like, oh yeah. One of the things my mechanic guy found, he showed me a video of it. He's like, oh yeah, when I was taking the driver's side rear wheel off, I noticed some play in the wheel. And he shows me in the video, and like the wheel is just like an inch of play.
Oh,
and there's a whole control arm on the bottom, the camber arm, and it's just clunk, 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 clunk. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it's right at the eccentric bolt, which if, any listeners remember, was where that one shop that I really fucking hate broke some shit, even though they weren't supposed to be touching it. And I was like, why did you touch that shit? And they're like, oh, well, we were doing the alignment. I said, yeah, remember when I said don't touch the rear wheels and you fucking did and broke some shit? Well, that's where the arm is just like fucking that bolt is like moving like a motherfucker. So yeah, it's a big bolt hole and it's just like come loose, and so there's like a good, by the time it gets to like where the wheel is, there is like an inch of play. It's probably not going to break, so I'm going to go ahead and drift on it anyway. But it is just one more thing that I got to fix sooner rather than later now.
Yeah, that
So-
sounds like a big deal.
It's a big enough deal, but I'm still going to drift on it.
I was about to complain about how my MR2, if I'm driving on grooved concrete pavement, it kind of wiggles a little at 60 miles an hour. But that's nothing compared to...
Oh, is that not normal for you? my shit just does that, has for years now.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the aggressive setup.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might need to replace my tie rod ends, but yeah, you might want to get that looked at. I just need to replace every single bushing in that car because they're all 35 years old and about to crumble to dust. So that could have something to do with it.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, should we start on Bill Lear here in a minute, or should we take a quick break?
We should. If we could take a quick break, though, I have been consuming alcohol, and so there are some consequences to that.
All right. All right, we're back, and we're talking about William Powell Lear, the inventor of the Learjet and many more things. So I'll just start off. I'll try to be a little bit brief on the early history of his life, because more the stuff that I'm interested in came towards the end. But he was a very interesting guy and had a big impact in cars, aviation, radio, all kinds of different things.
Those are very unrelated fields.
Yeah. So William Powell Lear was born on June 26, 1902 in Hannibal, Missouri, also the hometown of Mark Twain, to Reuben Marion Lear, a carpenter, and Gertrude Elizabeth Powell Lear. And his parents eventually divorced when he was a kid, and he went to live with his mom in Chicago. And he worked briefly at an airfield there and got sort of a taste for aviation. He went back one summer to his father's house in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and rebuilt a Model T car with him. And then he joined the Navy as a teenager. He never finished high school and was sent to the Great Lakes Naval Training Station, where he started to learn about radio. So he was a radio operator with the Navy. And
okay,
then
that makes sense there. That now I can see where that comes from. Okay.
Yeah. So you can see kind of the beginning of some of his interests coming in here. He opened a radio repair business after his discharge from the Navy. And he was married at the time to Ethel Peterson Lear, and they had a daughter together in 1925, Mary Louise. In 1924, Lear invented what was called the B battery eliminator. And back in those days, radios needed two batteries, one for just the regular circuitry and one for the high voltage vacuum tubes. They needed a slightly higher voltage, and you needed something called a B battery to power those. And he invented a little transformer that would step up the voltage from the main battery and power the high voltage circuitry.
Interesting.
So he also found a way to miniaturize radio tuning coils. And I don't quite understand the science of this, but he was able to use braided copper wire, and that shrunk the coils to about a quarter of their size.
Huh.
And so he was able to make a smaller radio overall. He set up a business in his mom's basement to manufacture these. and eventually got a contract to sell 50,000 coils to Zenith. And then as he was making money, he sold this business and invested in the Galvin Manufacturing Company. And he didn't just invest in the company, he was involved in their engineering. So he helped design the first portable car radio, like a radio that you could actually install in a car. And eventually this company changed its name to Motorola. So he was one of the founders of Motorola and one of the inventors of the car radio.
Okay, now this seems like a good place to stop, and I want to ask you if in your at least whatever limited research you did do here, this story sounds awfully goddamn familiar. Sounds like a trope that we hear today a lot. So I want to ask, I mean, did he really start a business in his mom's basement, or was that a ploy to, like, was that just a story that he created, like Amazon was Jeff Bezos, like, oh, he started it in his garage, which the truth is he specifically found a house in the suburbs to start the business in the garage so that he would have the story to say. And he got like investment from like his wife's parents and his parents. Like, he got hundreds of thousands of dollars, started it technically in a garage, but like it was all for show. Now, Bill Lear, is that where he's coming from? Did he come? I don't think you mentioned it specifically, but like, did he come from money or something? Is this a show? Is this like
I don't know much about his mom's family, but his dad was a carpenter and probably didn't make huge money.
Okay.
And it, of course, I didn't find anything about like, he got help from this or that person, but he did seem to be genuinely a self-taught electrical engineer.
So
And
Bill Lear, in a way, is like, he is the ideal that all the fucking grifters of today are like hearkening back to. Like, this story is where like Elon Musk pretends to be, what Jeff Bezos pretends to be, what Bill Gates pretends to be. It's all basically this fucking guy. Oh,
Well,
hey, I've invented like totally unrelated things. I started a business in a basement. Like, is he the start of the trope?
in a way, I mean, he did receive the Horatio Alger Award, I believe, which is a real thing that used to be around.
That is a bunch of words that I don't.
Horatio Alger was the original like formula for the pull yourself up by your bootstraps story. Oh. So it was like a fictional thing, and they made an award. Boy. But like, there are some parallels to Musk because like, while Bill Lear did know a good bit about electronics and avionics and everything, his expertise did run out, and he ended up investing in and being involved with some not so scientific and kind of bullshit ventures in the future.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Not surprising at all.
So there is this trend transcends era, apparently.
Yeah.
I just real quick, I think it's hilarious that they went to name an award about like self-starters, the real like Renaissance man who pulled himself up for the bootstraps, and they're like, who do we name it after? And all they could find was a fictional character. It's fucking great. It's just so telling.
Yeah, let me double check that.
I'm gonna look like a real dumbass.
Yeah, yep. 1954 member Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans. So yeah, he got plenty of these different awards during his career. But yeah, that one is pretty funny.
Oh boy.
So in 1926, he married his second wife, Madeline Murphy, and they had two kids, William Lear Jr. and Patty. And then he was married a third time to Margaret Rattle. They had no children. In 1931, Lear bought his first aircraft, a fleet biplane, for $2,500.
So was this a private jet for him? He had already made made it to that level at that age?
I mean, this is the 30s, so there's no jet anything, and this is a biplane. It's not like I mean, maybe it was high tech for that time, but something tells me it was kind of an ordinary used airplane.
Nice.
Just a normal level of airplane wealth.
Yeah.
Not like not the jet level yet.
Yeah. This is when he founded a Lear Development, a company specializing in aerospace instruments and electronics. And these are some of the other legitimate inventions he has credit for. He invented the radio direction finder, which is basically like a radio compass that you can use if you're flying by instruments. He developed some early forms of autopilot and the first fully automatic aircraft landing system.
Huh.
And like I said, it's not quite clear how much he invented in all of these, or if he was paying other engineers and taking credit for it, because he did do that later in his life, patent things that other people had developed
Gotcha.
at his companies.
Dude, I bet Elon Musk wants to
Yeah,
be this
this
guy
is like-
so bad. Like, this is exactly
Someone
what he
check
does
Elon
now.
Musk's fucking computer. I guarantee you there are files on this guy's story that he's just ripping off. He's like purposely trying to follow the same steps.
Yeah. So this company developed a line of panel-mounted radios and other instruments for general aviation. So they fit in the dashboard of the plane. This is a Lear Avian series of portable radios, which incorporated radio direction finder circuits as well as broadcast band coverage. So you could listen to just the regular terrestrial radio in your airplane, put some tunes
Nice.
on. And they sold about $100 million worth during World War II to the war effort.
That is a fuckload of money.
Yeah,
That is
made a little bit of money off the war.
That's an insane amount of money.
In 1941, Lear married his fourth wife, Moya Marie Olson. They had 4 children together: John, Lear,
all right.
Shanda.
Hold on. What are we? What is the tally on the kids now? Are we at like what 7, 8?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
All right, that wasn't that abnormal for the time. 4 wives though. That's unusual. That's quite a few.
Yeah. So these 4 kids were named John, Shanda, David, and Tina. And I think it's funny that her name was Shanda Lear.
Oh, God.
Oof.
Oh, my
What a
God.
fucking asshole.
That poor girl. Oh, my
Yeah.
God.
I'll have more on his parenting later.
I can't imagine it
not
was
the
good.
greatest
Yeah.
dad.
Oh man. Oof. All right.
That poor girl. I feel so bad for her.
All right. So in 1960, Lear moved to Switzerland and founded the Swiss American Aviation Company. Their goal was to take this design for the FFA P-16 jet fighter, a project that had been abandoned after 2 crashes during test flights, and convert it into a small business jet. During the brief existence of this company, the exiled King Michael I of Romania met Lear and agreed to work as a test pilot for the Swiss part of the company. So this guy was exiled when the communists took over Romania and kicked him and the rest of the royal family out.
Nice.
So this jet had already had 2 crashes in testing?
Yes.
Oh, tell me the former king died in a jet crash.
No,
after the communists
unfortunately
kicked him
not.
out.
He
Damn it!
he survived and actually returned to Romania after the end of communism.
Boo. I don't like this story. We should move on.
Yeah.
Before this episode, I had not known that there was ever communists in control in Romania. To be fair, I knew
Yeah, me
almost
neither.
nothing about Romania anyway, but yeah, bummer. Kings suck. I don't know. Look, I sit somewhere between, anarchist, Marxist, depends on the day. I think we should all work together. But nothing really inflames that inner anarchist more than royalty. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm just like, no, all of it, no. Every time I'm watching, you watch Game of Thrones or some old-timey show with like, oh, the king's... And I'm like, fuck that king, chop his head off. You're holding a sword. You're right there. Chop the fucker's head off. What are you doing? Who is this?
All your problems could be solved. Just kill that
What are you
motherfucker right
doing?
now. Just
Yeah,
do
why
it.
does this person have authority over you? They're so weak. Look at them. Kill them. I
Yeah.
feel like we could have skipped capitalism entirely if we just did the anarchism thing. If the theory existed at the time, it's like you could just kill the leaders and feudalism would collapse and we could just have social, like, we literally would not have to have all of this. But whatever. Obviously that's ahistorical. That's not what happened. We live in the real world. So capitalism came first, and now we have to move on. But man, when I hear anything about royalty and those motherfuckers, yeah, just kill all royalty. Oh my god, nothing pisses me off more. So sorry. Anyway,
I mean, I guess the good news is that there is no more royalty in Romania, but the bad news is this guy lived to 2017.
wow, really?
Oh my god.
Wow, God.
Yeah.
See, I hate hearing about how long these people live because it's always way too long. Capitalists, royalty, doesn't matter. They all live way too fucking long, except for the czars of Russia. They met an untimely end, and that was good.
And one little tidbit from Michael I of Romania, his Wikipedia page. He met his wife when he attended the wedding of his cousins, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip of Greece. So the current Queen of England is his cousin, and so was her husband, and also Michael's wife is also his second cousin. So all of these people are cousins.
See, that's what's always shocking about how long they live.
Right.
You wouldn't think the incest would allow it, but I guess so.
Well, every once in a while you have, the what's his name from Russia with hemophilia or something, or the what do you call it, the Habsburgs back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole trope of like sickly royalty. It's not a coincidence.
Or insane or whatever. Yeah. So that business eventually went bust, but he took the design and moved to Wichita, Kansas, which at that time was kind of a big deal in airplane manufacturing. I think it's still Cessna is based there. And
what time period is this? Because I'm trying to like decide, like, were there even buildings in Wichita, Kansas yet, or what? Like what existed there? Okay, so there was towns. Like Wichita was a town.
Yeah, no,
there.
it was. So in October 1963, the first flight of the Lear Jet 23 was launched. So this was the first mass-produced business jet. It could carry 8 passengers at 560 miles per hour and cost about $650,000 fully equipped. So a bargain compared to a Boeing jumbo jet.
What did those go for?
It says around a little over $1 million at the time.
Oof. Yeah. Okay.
In 1963?
Yeah.
Good God. Okay.
That's actually. I think that's still, even in today's dollars, I think that's still less than they would cost. Like nowadays, they're in like tens or hundreds of millions, and the inflation rate is not that high.
Yeah, I mean, it says 400,000 less than its competitors at the time. So maybe there were smaller like commuter jets that Boeing was selling to as like a business jet.
Yeah,
but the Learjet was pretty small to be more aerodynamic and lighter. Like you couldn't actually stand up in it fully.
Interesting.
And one anecdote is a reporter asked Bill Lear about this. And he's like, well, you can't stand up in a Rolls Royce, but people buy those.
Hey, that's a good comeback.
Okay,
right,
fair point. Yeah.
Well, fuck you.
So, and he also said, it goes 560 miles an hour. You're going to get there plenty quick. You don't need to stand up. Just don't worry about it.
This sounds like something I would tell a reporter asked me a stupid question. I feel like I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Clever, goofy shit.
Bill Lear had a reputation for just fucking with reporters and just telling them bullshit. So a lot of this stuff, it's like, take it with a grain of salt. It's not really clear what was true
Sure.
necessarily. But in 1967, in 1964, Lear invented the 8-track music cartridge.
Nice. This is where we come in.
Yeah. So this was not like 100% new invention. There was something called a 4-track tape that he basically just doubled it up, which itself was a version of a 3-track system. So like they're all just building off each other. It's nothing.
Yeah, hold
all that
on.
new.
Yeah, this is just like ours is has more tracks. You're like, okay, where's the 10 track? The fuck?
Well, I mean that's just a compact, cassette or whatever, I guess.
Yeah.
Somebody did the 30-minute abs, so they came in with the 29-minute abs, and then he just came in with the 25-minute abs, and everybody was like, "Oh wow, yeah, I'm gonna do that. That's way less minutes for the same amount of abs."
Yeah. So I think I know someone that actually has a 8-track player out of a Learjet, because they would install them in the planes. But in 1967, he was hurting for money a little bit, and Bill Lear sold the Learjet Corporation to Gates Rubber Company, based in Denver.
That's weird. What does this rubber company have to do with anything?
So there used to be a giant brick building in the middle of Denver that said Gates on it, and it was abandoned for decades because they moved somewhere else. But they make belts and hoses.
Yeah, I was about to say they make the belts and hoses. We used to sell those at the O'Reillys.
Yeah.
That's where you get your fucking radiator hoses and shit.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, they sell like high pressure hydraulic stuff. In fact, one of the companies I used to work for made stuff for their high pressure hoses.
So they got into the plane business, huh?
Yeah, they were making high pressure hoses for planes and stuff.
And so it makes sense to start making planes entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
Did they make any fully rubber planes or no?
No, Goodyear did though.
Wait, is that a thing? What?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think it was around the same time in the 60s. Goodyear made something called the Inflato-Plane. and the idea of that was it would fit like on a pallet, and then you would like you would airdrop it with a parachute.
Okay.
Of
course you would.
Did they sell this exclusively to Wile E. Coyote?
Well, close. They were trying to sell it to the U.S. Government, the military.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The idea is that you would drop it to like a pilot that had crashed behind enemy lines, and then he could just like open the crate and unfold everything and pump it up and fly away.
Okay, I'm going to admit, if it works, this is kind of a cool idea, but I've never heard of it, so I'm guessing it didn't work too well.
No, during a test flight, one of the wings folded up and it crashed and killed the pilot.
Okay, so, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I know the rubber planes was a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'll put that. I'll try and put a link to that in the show notes. It was an interesting little thing. So, in the 1960s, there was a big environmentalist movement to get rid of smog in cities. Like LA, you couldn't see some days, and they're saying it was like as bad as smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day just living there.
Yeah, so bad.
Yeah. We've talked about this a little bit before with the EPA. Like there was a reason why we needed the EPA.
Yeah.
So everyone was trying to cut emissions, and one idea that a few people investigated was a steam engine. And this isn't as crazy as it sounds, because in theory, if you have a boiler burning just at a constant rate rather than, little explosions in a car engine, a boiler will burn that fuel more efficiently and have fewer harmful emissions. You can kind of fine tune everything and get it running real clean.
I can see this.
Yeah. And people were thinking, okay, well, maybe with our modern technology, we can invent a steam engine that's efficient and reliable and powerful enough for a car. At the same time, in motorsports, there was a lot of experimentation going on, especially at Indianapolis. So a little earlier in 1952, the Cummins Diesel Special set a lap record, and qualified for pole position. And then in the 1960s, a British engineer named Ken Wallace worked with a few different companies, Paxton, Lotus, and Shelby, to develop a few different turbine-powered race cars. So basically, they got helicopter engines and adapted them for a race car. The problem was that the Indy sanctioning body made rules to restrict the intake diameter.
Boo.
So that kind of, put the kibosh on any turbine engines. You'd be choking it down to the size of a throttle body on a car. You're not going to be able to run enough air through it to actually make any decent power. Now, Wallace did develop a variable intake to cheat the rules for Shelby. But the Shelby, crew chiefs were like, no, we're not going to do that. And they withdrew from competition. So.
And now, and Bill Lear had something to do with these developments in the motorsports, right? He was working on something with the steam engine, right?
No, he was kind of just sitting around because he, sold his Learjet company, and he had a few $1 million that he's just kind of burning a hole in his pocket. And he actually went to buy a yacht for his son, John, and ran into this guy, Ken Wallace, who was recently unemployed from being an engineer in these racing teams, and had a boat to unload to pay some bills, and they got to talking. So Lear had actually been researching, or he had started a small company to research steam engines and steam power during this time to try and beat the smog problem.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ken Wallace was like, oh, that'd be awesome. I can design you a steam-powered race car that will win at Indy because there's no rules for steam engines and we can just do whatever we want.
Okay. Hey, I like the way he thinks. I like this
Yeah.
Wallace character. I was wondering, I'm like, I know I've had a couple of beers, but like, how did we get from Bill Lear to this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, there's a connection.
Okay.
So Lear was impressed also and hired him on the spot. And he's like, all right, I'm going to give you millions of dollars to develop a race team for a steam-powered Indy car.
Fuck yeah. I'm with it. It might weigh 20,000 pounds. It might be a locomotive, but like, God damn it can win.
Yeah. The two formed a company called Lear Vapordyne in Reno, Nevada to research steam engines for cars, trucks, buses. And the Indy car was going to be sort of a demonstration of the technology to show, this is so high tech that we can even win at Indy.
Hell yeah. So like pretty much, which is how all motorsports really is. They're all just proving grounds for various companies to do shit, which is fine. But yeah. Okay. Interesting. Let's see how this story ends. I don't see steam engines in Formula One, so I'm guessing I could infer what happens, but go on.
Yeah. So they hired some engineers named Hugh Carson, Peter Scott Brown, and CFE Gassimani. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Who's an Iranian guy, and those guys did most of the work. Gassimani designed the boiler, which by all accounts was a very good design. It had around 800 feet of stainless steel tubing that was all coiled up, and then it had a kerosene burner in the middle. And the idea being that you don't have a giant big tank of water that you're heating up all at once. You have, a few liters of water that you're heating up, and so that way it's much lighter
to a very high temperature because
it's
all in the path of the flame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were shooting for 1,000 horsepower and 1,000 psi. They didn't quite get there for reasons, but I'll get to that. But he was able to produce enough steam with this boiler to make around 700 horsepower.
Okay. Oh, only 700. Damn.
Yeah. So the engine that the other engineers designed was based off of the Napier Deltic two-stroke diesel engine. And this is a large engine that's used or was used in like British Navy vessels and also like diesel electric trains at the time. So this was an interesting design because it had 6 cylinders, 12 pistons, and 3 crankshafts, and it was all in a
What?
triangle shape.
What? Hold on.
So
I got to see the pictures.
yeah, I might have it in another one too, if it's not in that one. But I think there's like a
Oh, that is bonkers. Oh, I'm still looking at the
Oh,
animation.
whoa.
So it's like
I was.
an opposing piston engine, right? Where the
yeah,
two pistons are like literally like they could almost touch, and they're in the same cylinder. But then you do this as a triangle, and so the
yeah.
fulcrum of each pair of pistons is running a crankshaft. So there's 3 crankshafts on the corners of this triangle. This is bonkers.
Yeah, and it's a really good design for a two-stroke diesel because you get really high compression and really high expansion rates.
Yeah, I bet.
You can do cool things with the ports in the cylinders because it's a two-stroke. You can have one piston uncovers the exhaust port and another uncovers the intake port, and so you can change how it's phased so that your scavenging works better and it builds boost in the cylinder and stuff like that. So it's a pretty ingenious design for a two-stroke,
This
but
is very cool. Yeah.
almost none of that matters for a steam engine. The one thing that you do get with a steam engine is it does have a big expansion rate, so it means it's more efficient without having a really long stroke, and so you can, in theory, rev it higher to make more power.
Yeah.
They designed a rotary valve that went in the middle of the triangle to distribute the steam to each cylinder, and this is when they had their problems because it's they couldn't get its seal. It was if they had enough clearance to make it spin without seizing up, it would just leak steam, and they would only get like 100 horsepower out of the engine. And if they made the tolerances a little tighter, it would just seize up and the engine wouldn't move. So Lear actually bought them a gas turbine engine to take apart and study the gas seals in that, but that didn't help. They were still having problems with this.
So wait, Brian, just so I can understand, there
Yeah.
was two different steam engine designs, right? So one was the more traditional steam engine with the like coils that are filled with water and heated with a
Well,
kerosene burner.
that's a boiler.
Yeah. So is that separate from? So that makes the steam that goes into this engine.
Exactly. Yeah. With any steam engine, you've got a boiler to make the
Yeah.
steam and then an engine to use the steam to make power.
So this engine, I guess I'm. What is going into the engine to make the pistons split apart? Is that the expansion of the steam?
Exactly. Yeah. So steam, when it like loses temperature, it excuse me.
Contracts.
How does this work? So if you have steam under pressure, and you let it out into a chamber to expand, it will expand even more than like compressed air.
Yeah.
And there's something to do with temperature and phase change and all that kind of thing that I don't quite understand. But just the physics of steam is water is a good medium for doing this, which is why like power plants today use steam turbines.
Yeah.
You're still boiling
Mhm.
water. However many 100 years later, no one's found a really better way around that.
Okay. So the steam then expands in this engine, which the engine is a very cool design, but it was leaking and stuff. But I thought you said they were able to achieve like a 700 horsepower ish version of this.
Well, that was the potential of the boiler. It was an
Oh, okay.
But because of all the leaks, they weren't able to get more than 100 horsepower out of the engine.
So basically, what happens if you try and put on a turbo in a garage? Which
Yeah.
actually, no, it's usually more successful. But like all those leaks, high pressure is a hard fucking thing to deal with. Like it just
Yeah. Well,
is.
and other people have tried to do like rotary valves for like car engines, like internal combustion
Mm-hmm.
engines, and they never really work because of this problem. Either you can't get them to seal, or they just seize up when it gets too hot.
Yeah.
There's a couple different Australian people working on this back in the day, and really, like, regular poppet valves in car motors today are a pretty good technology for sealing something at high pressure. Like, there's no reason, like, if they
Yeah.
made this engine with regular poppet valves, it probably would have worked just fine.
Okay, interesting. So if there's any engineers out there, try a poppet valve, and we might have
Yeah.
ourselves quite an engine.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's this design, this shape of this engine doesn't really offer that many advantages to a steam engine. Like, there's better ways to make a steam engine, in my opinion.
This looks so cool, though.
Yeah. But maybe it would, I don't know. Maybe this is better for racing in theory, but well, I don't know. What do I know? I think I've said this before, but like, if I had, millions of dollars to burn, like Bill Lear did in 1968, I would do some dumb shit, like build a steam powered race car and try to, like, set a Bonneville record or Pikes Peak record or something like that. So I can kind of sympathize with Bill Lear at this point. So maybe it's a good thing that I don't have millions of dollars. Maybe one person shouldn't have millions of dollars.
Yeah, no more of that. No more.
Now, it wasn't making a whole lot of power on the test stand, but it was making huge amounts of torque. They said that it had enough torque to twist truck axles into licorice. Not sure what that means exactly, but a good amount, because steam engines do tend to be real torquey. Like, I think the Doble steam car of the 1930s had like around 100 horsepower and around like 700 foot-pounds of torque, something like that.
Nice.
And all of that torque from 0 RPM, so it didn't need a transmission. It was all direct drive. And I might have to do an episode in the future just about steam cars, or turbine cars for that matter, just because I think it's kind of fascinating. But anyways, I guess back to the Lear Vapordyne. They also had trouble with the condenser, which is like the radiator. It takes the steam after it leaves the engine and turns it back into water so that it can be boiled again. It was way too small for the car that they had, and there was one source that I couldn't confirm, said that one of the engineers misplaced a decimal point and made it 10 times smaller than it should be.
Oh boy.
And a reporter pointed this out to Bill Lear, and he's like, "Oh no, that's not a problem, because we invented something called lyrium, and it's a special chemical formula. It's a form of polymerized water that carries its own lubricant, and it's a much more effective working fluid than water in a steam engine."
So they put a little tablespoon of olive oil in their water, huh? Or
Well, the
motor
thing,
oil, maybe. Like, they just put a little oil in that water to carry the lubricant.
the thing was that Bill Lear made all this up on the spot, so there was no lyrium.
I see the
But
parallels to Elon Musk already.
but he did pay some chemists to look into this and try to figure out if they could make a better working fluid.
This is exactly Musk. Oh my god! We have this thing that I paid someone yesterday to look into vaguely.
Yeah.
It'll be ready in 2 years, I promise.
They tried, I think, 4 different versions of this. They tried something that was like a refrigerant used in an AC system, like a hydrocarbon, and that kind of worked. I think we talked about this in the very first episode. The naphtha launch was like an early sort of steam engine that used a petroleum based working fluid.
That's right. I remember that being working surprisingly well for having an explosive ass thing making the steam.
Right. But I'm not sure what all the different versions were. They had A through D, and the last one, the the chemist nicknamed it delirium.
I mean, you have to, right?
Yeah. And of course, none of them worked any better than water, and they abandoned this project. Let's see. Lear also sold the idea to the California Highway Patrol, who were testing out alternative fuels for their cruisers at the time, and he was going to put it in a. There's two different reports. It was is either a Chevy Malibu or a Dodge Polara. I'll try and cut in a YouTube video here. I'll put it in the chat, and this is just like a 3-minute thing that is Lear explaining to the reporter about the car. So
Lear's plans to build the $500,000 track were revealed during a noontime news conference. It'll be an exact duplicate of the famed Indianapolis Raceway, home of the Memorial Day 500. The reasons for building the 2.5-mile oval are many. Current United States Auto Club rules for steam vehicles are non-existent. According to Lear, the rules are so nebulous and vague, chances of racing his steam engine are questionable. Lear's track, which is already under construction, will be completed by early March, allowing 2 months testing time to prove to USAC that a steam engine racer is not only feasible, but competitive. The track will also be used for testing conventional automobiles, and one of the first experiments will involve steam-driven California Highway Patrol cars.
Well, Dwayne, this is the California Patrol mock-up car. Now, we'll deliver this to them sometime in probably the 1st of April. But this is a mock-up of exactly how the inside of the hood will look. This is the radiator. This over here is the auxiliary power plant that runs all the time that the steam is on or you get the switch on. And then this is the engine here, and this is the bar. This is the steam generator.
Well, maybe in a quick fashion you can tell us how the engine will function.
Well, the engine itself is a 6-cylinder engine, and I'd like to take this cover off of this mock-up here to show you the way that it operates. It's 6 cylinders. It has 3 crankshafts. It has 12 pistons, and the pistons go together in this fashion here. So what that does, it allows you to get more horsepower because you can get more expansion because the stroke can be shorter. You get double the expansion because you've got 2 pistons working in a single cylinder. And it also gives you the opportunity of getting more horsepower because you can run it faster. The torque on this engine will give you the torque of about a 600 horsepower engine. The power source is this steam generator right here. And if you'll step over, I'll show you what's inside of that thing so you get a better idea. Now, this is a partially completed steam generator. This is going to be for the Indianapolis 500. This generator will generate enough heat to heat 200 homes. At the same time, it will develop about 800 horsepower.
How much tubing are we talking about here, and how long does it take to make something like that?
Well, when this generator is complete, it will have 800 feet of tubing in it and stainless steel.
You said something earlier today that I found amazing, that the 800 horsepower turned out by this compares extremely favorably with the old locomotives.
Well, this boiler here, as you can see, is about 21 inches in diameter and about 25 inches long, and it puts out 800 horsepower compared with a locomotive that put out 1,400 horsepower. And that's quite a lot larger, you'll have to admit.
When it was originally announced that Lear planned to build a steam engine race car, there were plenty of doubting Thomases. As you can see, the car itself is already taking shape. The engine you just saw will sit in here alongside the driver, much like the turbine of Andy Granatelli. Lear makes it clear that he's not entering the racing business. However, he does plan to have 2 of these completed by mid-March, merely to prove the doubting Thomases wrong. Long-range plans call for billions of dollars of steam units to be built here in Reno within the next 5 to 10 years. It's Lear's contention that steam-driven automobiles are the cars of the future, and he's currently investing $10 million to...
All right. Well, that cuts off a little abruptly there, but so a lot of that was bullshit. If you couldn't guess. So
it's
they
promising, though. I want it. I want it to work.
Yeah. So they did at least start bulldozing a track in the desert to make a test track, but they never finished it. And
there was also a part of me that was just like, why do you have to make a special track that has steam engines? I'm like, dude, you can just like ask someone to use the existing test track somewhere else. Be like, hey, can we run our car here real quick? Like, you could pay the money and they'll let you do. Like, you don't have to build a whole new ass test track. But
Right.
I found that weird. I was like, all right, I guess you're doing this for no reason. But okay, go for it. I guess there's nothing out there yet. It's the '60s. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
What was I going to say? So the team was hoping to enter the car in the 1969 Indy 500, but that didn't happen because of Bill Lear. So one weekend when most of the engineering team was gone, Bill Lear came into work and told the technicians he wanted them to start up the prototype engine and see it running.
This is classic boss doing some boss shit. Like, hey, here's this thing that doesn't work. Can you do this thing? And they're like, no, sir, that's not how it works. I'd like to see it anyway. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's being a boss, and God, it's gonna go exactly how we think.
Yeah. So either someone forgot to put the right lubricant in it, or they were still having trouble with the rotary valve, but it seized up on the test
stand. And millions of dollars down the drain.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, they could have fixed this one, but Bill Lear freaked out and canceled the whole project.
He took his ball and went home.
Yeah. So he fired Wallace and told the rest of the team to switch to a steam turbine setup.
Totally change everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right, bud.
I guess that threw off their timeline for the Indy race.
Yeah, I'll say. Oh man, we don't need bosses. They're just unnecessary. This is the world that bosses have created. People, look around. We don't need this shit.
Yeah. They did finish the rolling chassis of the race car without a motor.
So they got the easy part done. Okay.
Yeah, and they were kind of cramming to get it done before an auto show, and they didn't have a steering rack, so they got one from an MG, and someone put it in upside down, so that when they went to like roll it onto the trailer, the guy turned left and it went right and crashed into a pillar.
Hold on, how does that even happen? Like, I'm trying to imagine, like, what? How do you turn the wheel? Like, how does it? I cannot imagine this.
Yeah, steering racks, if you put them upside down, they go the other way. Kind of like a differential.
Oh, okay, thing. Yeah, all right. I can see it now in my head, because at first I was just like, this does not compute. Holy shit, that's hilarious. This is amazing. The world was changed by apparently a few automotive mistakes here and there. Putting together a project car wrong has changed the world.
Yeah, and this car still exists, the rolling chassis at least. It's either in a private collection or a museum, I forget which, and they'll bring it out to car shows and stuff. And I don't know, in one of those, or in I think all those links I posted, there's pictures of it, and it you can tell it's a little bit chunkier than the average Indy car, kind of like what you were saying, Connor. So I don't know how competitive it would have been, even if they could have gotten it running. It was a little chubby.
That's thick.
Yeah.
THICC thick. Oof.
So they did develop a turbine engine, but they also had trouble making enough power with that to be competitive in racing. However, they did figure it would be enough for maybe a car or a bus. So in 1972, Lear Vapordyne installed the steam turbine on a GMC bus with the help of U.S. Department of Transportation and Mooney, the San Francisco Municipal Bus Company. So they were exploring alternative fuels at the time, again, to deal with smog and emissions. So it did work for a while. The bus was tested on a regular route around the city, and they also ran it as a few times as a coach back and forth to Reno. But in August 1972, Mooney rejected the design after it failed to return fuel economy better than 0.8 miles per gallon.
Oof.
So it might have been
not
clean.
Good.
Yeah. It might have been clean burning, but it was burning a lot of fuel.
Yeah. Damn.
And on May 14th, 1978, Bill Lear died of leukemia in Reno, Nevada.
I'm sorry. What year?
1978. So he was
Okay.
75 years old.
Gotcha.
So
Interesting character.
Yeah, and I do have a little addendum to this because in one of these web pages that I was reading, I scrolled down to the bottom and found a comment that was left by his son John.
Oh, interesting. Juicy.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Or at least someone claiming to be John Lear. So he goes on for like a couple paragraphs about the sailboat that his dad bought him from Ken Wallace, which who cares? Sailboats are boring.
That's right. That was the Ken Wallace needed some money, so he sold him a boat, and that's changed history. And so yeah, this boat. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, boat stuff, and then he says the failure of Dad's steam engine was due to the fact that he knew nothing about Rankine cycle propulsion, and that specifically the horsepower was directly related to the size of the condenser. So like we said, it was a lot smaller than it should be. That's why he changed to a steam bus. They used the top of the bus as a condenser, which I didn't find any other. I couldn't confirm that, but maybe. They did definitely have bigger radiators on the bus.
They had more room to do the shit that they needed to. Makes sense.
Yeah. Dad went on to design the Allegro business jet. After he was passing, it was sold to Bombardier, blah, blah, blah. And after a lengthy, long lawsuit, Mom ended up with $75 million. Just before he passed away, he was working on an all-composite twin-engine single-propeller airplane. I was left out of his will. Actually, he left me $1, which I never got.
What a fucking asshole. What a fucking jerk off.
They do that so that you can't contest the will. Did you know that?
Actually. What?
Yep. If you leave someone nothing, they can contest your will, like a direct relative, like a son.
Yeah.
But if you leave someone $1, they can't contest the will.
Wow.
So that is like a gigantic fuck you. Like, I'm not leaving you anything, and I'm specifically making sure that you can't get anything.
What a motherfucker.
If this is all true.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Again, the parallels to Elon Musk continue to stack up.
Yeah.
Fucking asswipe. Look, I don't know nothing about his kid. Maybe his kid's an asshole too. Rich kids tend to be. But fuck these people.
I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay, good.
So the reason why he gave him $1 was because I told him all the reasons why the Lear fan would never be successful. Lear Fan Corporation filed bankruptcy circa 1984, owing investors $400 million.
So he was fucking right too.
Yeah,
unbelievable. This is capitalism, man. It punishes you for being correct. Anyone who is a leftist knows this. If you understand how it works, you will be punished. If you point it out, hey, this is stupid for XYZ reason, fuck you. You're gonna have a miserable existence. Wow. Also, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, because I was like, ooh, okay, this is awfully technical.
Yeah. Like I said, I couldn't confirm all this stuff, but yeah, he seemed like he was there.
Wow, what a fucking jerk off.
He says, I am 76 when he wrote this in 2019, and I will probably never tell the story of why my mother and father were such abominations to the human race. The public does not.
He should tell the story. What are you doing, man? I want to know the story.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Yeah, fuck these people. They fucked you over, dude. It's probably too.
I'll give you more than $1 for it too. Jesus Christ.
Well, let me finish before you decide to give this guy any money.
Okay,
all right.
My mother, who passed away in December 2001, left me $9.6 million, all but 400 of which was stolen by her attorneys, executor, and dishonest court judge.
Ooh, the parasites of living off the corpse of, the corpses created by capitalism. I love it.
Yeah. Am I bitter? Absolutely not. Well, it sounds like you are.
Just sound a little bitter, buddy.
Why? Because I know the truth about Mr. and Mrs. Lear, and I am happy I didn't share in their millions.
What is the goddamn truth? What is it?
Yeah.
I'm retired, live in Las Vegas, and post on Facebook many of the secrets I became aware of during my 39 career as an airline pilot. Okay, now here's the big thing. Several of those years flying for the CIA in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Africa.
Oh no.
Oh,
Oh my
shit.
god. Fuck this guy
Oh,
too.
shit.
Fuck everyone. Unbelievable.
So yeah, this guy was probably taking like suspected terrorists to black sites in Morocco or something.
Okay. Everyone here is awful. I hate everyone. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No good guys in this one.
And I would give Bill credit for like, oh yeah, fucking this guy over because your kid was an asshole, but that's probably not the reason. Well, as you said, it's because he told me he was wrong. Not because he was a CIA spook, but God, fuck all of these people. Why do these people get to be in charge of our lives, man? Don't get it. Royalty, capitalists, they're all the fucking same. Awful, stupid, inbred fucks telling us how to live. And they get everything for it.
Yeah. So that's the story of Bill Lear and Vapordyne. Like I said, I'll probably talk more about other steam powered cars in the future, but that's all I got for today. And if any wealthy investors want to help me make a steam powered race car, I got a totally real design for you.
You heard it, folks. Bryant is an engineer just in need of a small loan of a few $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like an
PR.
engineering degree or anything.
Don't need it. Don't need it.
Did Bill Lear?
Yeah, I mean, Bill Lear was all self-taught, so
there you go.
Hey, all entrepreneurs, the real entrepreneurs, they're all self-taught. They didn't need no college. They didn't, they balked the system. They dropped out of college and then, got millions of dollars from their parents or family or something. And then they entrepreneured themselves and, did good stuff. That's how it works.
Exactly.
Bootstraps.
Yeah. If they would have went to college, they could have gotten some of that Marxist brainwashing. So
you know what? Now that I think about it, I feel like we, Cars and Comrades Incorporated, should come up with some bootstraps that we can sell. Like we should like bootstraps. They connect to your boots and you lift yourself up. That's what we should invent and sell. Bootstraps.
Yeah.
Cars and Comrades Incorporated, now in the bootstraps business. It'll come with a little backstory, like on a fortune cookie, and it's like, oh, this is your backstory. You started a business in a basement, and then you lifted yourself up, and here's the bootstraps. You're good to go. Millions of dollars coming your way.
You liquidated your assets and put it all into NFTs.
We could sell you an NFT of the bootstraps that we sold you too.
Oh man, if NFTs were around in 1968, Bill Lear would have been all over that.
Oh god, yeah, he would have. That little animation that was in the article of the motor, the 3 crankshaft, that thing. Yeah, that would have been an NFT for sure. For like $1 million, he'll sell you the NFT of how his motor works.
Yeah, it's the same as the animation you can see online, except this one has a little line of code that says this was sold the IP address, blah, 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 at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's non-fungible, bro.
More like non-functional.
Got him.
One thing I forgot about that engine is the Deltec engine had one of the crankshafts spinning the opposite way of the other two.
I noticed that.
And the Lear engineers didn't know that and spent a lot of time trying to figure out why it wasn't working with them all turning the same direction.
I noticed it immediately. Oh my god, what? My god. Oh, they give degrees to these people, man. I'm just telling you, every fucking degree is just a line of bullshit. Anyone can get these degrees if you just work hard and do the homework. They'll give these degrees to fucking anybody. Oh man, incredible.
All right. Well, anything else to add before we close out here?
Capitalism sucks.
Yes.
No such thing as a good billionaire.
Agreed. Also, hey, if you like our podcast, maybe think about giving us a rating. I think those help us in some way, shape, or form. I don't really know, but
make us feel nice.
Yeah, ratings are good. We like to hear from listeners, and shoot us a message if I don't know, you want to, whatever. And follow us on social media, which we've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, sort of marginally, Hexbear, Reddit, and I think that's it. Did I get them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, come follow us there.
So.
I know you spend a lot of time on it, right? We all do. Come on. So come follow us if you aren't already.
All right. Well, good night or goodbye, everyone, whatever time of day it is.
Yeah, could be good morning. Could be. I don't know. Maybe you're driving to work to your shitty job that you hate. Whatever. I don't know.
Maybe you're designing a steam-powered race car at your job right now.
Or a 10
bullshit job
10-track
you're
radio
doing.
player.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, bye, listeners. Thanks for joining us again. I don't know why you do it, but thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
When left entirely on its own devices, capitalism foists its diseconomies and its toxicity upon the general public and upon the natural environment. And then it does an interesting thing. It eventually begins to devour itself. If the paladins of corporate America want to know what really threatens our way of life, it's their way of life.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
It's important that we examine the twin forces behind the Biden candidacy, the billionaires and the Bolsheviks.